And welcome to another episode of Beardo's Media. Today we discuss stagnant waters. If you always do what you always did, will you always get what you always got? Another interesting thing I heard today was life is like a bicycle. Unless you pedal, keep moving, you're not going anywhere. Anyway,
well, you'll fall. You'll fall. You won't. Not that you won't go anywhere. You'd end up falling.
I think that's what it was. And if you're misquoted,
and if you're on an incline, you'll actually be rolling backwards.
Wait, if it's a decline, you're going places, then, aren't you? Forget the bicycle thing. Anyway,
decline, that's not backwards faster.
Absolutely. But,
welcome, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. For all of you who have tuned in already, episode 3. Sorry, of we're already thinking ahead, aren't we? Episode 3 of Beardo's Media. Thank you for joining us. If you know what, I came across that quote. You say it slightly differently to the way I first heard it.
I probably said it different to the way I heard it.
If you only do what you've always done, you only get what you already have. That's the way I heard it, right? Now, not to say... I
think mine was the ghetto edition. You always get what you always got.
What you always got. All right, mate. Yeah. One of them ones. If you only do what you've always done, you only get what you already have. So the meaning to that being that if you don't do anything different, you're not going to get anything different in a basic way. And you'll always be stuck where you are. I think that's not even accurate anymore.
No.
I think if you only do what you've always done, you're not even going to get what you had in the past. You might get less or nothing. Things change. If you think about it in forget personal, even look at how many businesses have flopped because they didn't change their ways and went with the times. Or progress or change the way they did things.
Yeah, continue to flop, I guess.
Blockbusters. Do you remember Blockbusters?
You know what? Vaguely, I do. I don't think I ever rented a movie from there, though. Was it?
Not that you like to
videos?
Admit.
Was it VHS?
Yeah. Don't act like you don't know. Don't act like you don't know. I hate to think what kind of videos you did rent from there, but movies, of course, and games. So yeah, Blockbusters. They hired out VHS, CDs, DVDs, games for consoles that you could rent out, music, and as times changed and everything went online, they were like, nah, we're not getting onto that bandwagon. And now they cease to exist. Well, apparently there is still one or two branch around from the original ones in I think in America or somewhere. But the point being, from a business perspective, I guess I don't know whether we were going to even discuss business in this particular discussion. But in life, generally, I think there are some things which we have to get on, not just get on board with, but at least acquaint ourselves with or get to know to make an informed decision whether we want to adopt something or not. I think if we discard something in its entirety without exploring or at least getting the right amount of knowledge to find out if it's worth adopting or not, because sometimes you might come across something in life where you've explored whether it's worth adopting or not, and then decide, you know what, this is actually dangerous. Like TikTok.
TikTok is very dangerous.
I'm not even.
TikTok is dangerous.
I'm TikTok. I don't know. If you're on TikTok, let us know. Tell us why you're on TikTok. Then tell us what kind of content you watch. We want to know what kind of content you watch keep it clean on TikTok.
You mean we don't want to know?
I do want to know, because here's the thing. I registered on TikTok just to reserve my name, the handle that they give you, my username, and that's it. I came off it. I deleted the app. I don't even have the app installed on my phone. And I thought, I don't know whether I'll ever use it or not. But everything that I've come to know about it, I think it can be great for promoting stuff, like in the business world. In the personal world, I think it's a big distraction. I think it depends. Look, I think they've got some really clever AIs, haven't they? They have a look at what you've what kind of content you've been consuming, whether you've enjoyed it, whether you liked it or commented or whatever. And then, look, just like any other social media platform, they'll give you more of it. But because of certain ways of the way they've programmed everything together, it just gets you addicted to it. So in life, I guess if you only do what you've always done, you're not any longer gonna get what you already had. I think sometimes you end up going backwards. I think the question would always be, how important is it? If there's something important enough, then you work harder and you don't plateau, as you say. You don't stagnate.
Yeah.
Somebody once said, what happens to stagnant water? It stinks. So don't remain stagnant. So I think in some ways, I don't know whether it would be classed as stagnation or whether it would just be classed as being in some kind of a comfort zone, because we've had this debate before, haven't we, about comfort zones?
Yes.
We've had this discussion before, and probably not on air, but when we think about even going into a comfort zone, I'm all for comfort zones. You and I differ on this, because for me, I think that comfort zones are great places to be in. Somebody once said to me, don't get out of your comfort zone. It's not about getting out of your comfort zone or breaking out. Of course, there are times in your life when you have to break out of your comfort zone and you have to do things that you'd never even thought of doing. But the comfort zone is the best place to be, because it's an enjoyable place to be. But there's a big but here.
I'm sure there is. Yeah.
Stretch your comfort zones, meaning that everyone talks about get out of your comfort zone, get out of your comfort zone. It's become like a mantra, especially amongst, the topic we were talking about last week, coaches and mentors. But the comfort zones are great places to be. I would agree with in the saying that you need to stretch your comfort zones. Basically, start doing more of what you're not comfortable with until you become comfortable with it. And that also becomes a part of your comfort zone. So there's more of the things that you're comfortable with now than you were before. You're still progressing, but you're still in that comfort zone.
Isn't that the same thing, though? But I mean, apply it to anything. I think we were discussing about, we mentioned the weight loss or the calorie deficit the other day, and we were speaking about plateauing, and I was relating that to different things, and I thought, okay, let's say, for example, you go to the gym. We don't, but we look like we do.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Let's say you go to the gym and you lift the exact same weight every single day. Now, on day one, obviously you find it difficult. You might be at a push, whatever. You will get some growth, in the coming days.
Yeah.
But at some point, that weight is so easy for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are gaining nothing.
Yeah.
Unless, again, you step out of the comfort zone. You push yourself. You tear some muscle fibers. You lift something heavy. And then you continue to grow. So you've only been able to do that by coming out of your comfort zone. Do you understand? In that sort of specific.
Yeah, in that context, I would say, yeah, of course you've got to get out. And to be honest, getting into a gym in it itself is, you need to get out of your comfort zone, don't you? You can't get to a gym without.
We say that, but I went to a gym for years in my comfort zone. Never picked up a weight. Never did any cardio. Spent plenty of time in the sauna and the steam room and the hot tub, and that was pretty much it. And I gained nothing.
Well, apart from some sweat and kind of steam and what.
In fact, I probably gained pounds. I've spent an hour and a half in the gym on paper. Haven't burnt any calories, but I've come out sauna, steam roomed, fresh. Your skin is radiant. You've showered. That fresh air hits you, and you think, I can treat myself a little bit. I've just been to the gym. I'm going to go to Costa, or even the gym will have like a, like a coffee shop, cafeteria type. Anything.
Someone's asked the same question as you. They're saying, "Isn't that just a wordplay, bro?" Regarding your definition of comfort zone. Yeah, you could say it is. I think what I'm more conscious of is when people are always telling people to get out of their comfort zones all the time, and the human body, we as human beings are designed to protect ourselves, which is why comfort is comforting. And which is why we like to be in that zone, which is where we feel comfort and we feel joy or pleasure. My argument is that if you're always getting out of your comfort zone, if you're that kind of a guy or girl who likes that kind of a thrill, then go for it if that's your thing. But if it's not, I won't feel bad about myself as long as it's for the right reasons. And I would say if you've worked hard enough to become more and more comfortable at the things you weren't initially comfortable with, and they've now become a part of your comfort zone, you're comfortable doing those things as a part of your comfort zone. You don't always have to stretch out a lot. Zahur wa alaikum assalam. Yes, he was on my side.
I was actually just thinking of
Zahur
when this conversation came up, because he agrees with you.
He does agree with me, and I would rather listen to Zahur than you.
Yeah, of course, surprise.
Zahur would agree with me, and that's a good thing, isn't it? Sad says, if you don't come out of your comfort zone, you would get bored. No, I wouldn't. I never get bored of staying in my comfort zone.
It depends. You know what it is? You have to have come out of your comfort zone in order to... You can't expand your comfort zone by being in it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying don't get out of it at all. What I'm saying is don't always bang on about coming out of your comfort zone, because you're just going to make yourself uncomfortable all your life.
Kind of sounded like you were saying don't come out of it at all.
No, I say the comfort zone is the best place to be, but you've got to be comfortable with enough things.
If you've expanded it enough,
yeah.
So that you can, I don't know, you're comfortable running a marathon. You're comfortable bench pressing 120. You're comfortable, doing an hour's cardio. You're comfortable.
It sounds like the things I do on a daily basis.
Yeah, if you're comfortable,
I'm staying in my comfort zone.
If you're comfortable waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, if you're comfortable, eating grilled chicken every day, or all of these things.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable putting the hard days graft at work.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Stay in that.
So at some point you will have had to stretch your comforts.
No, you would have to have come out of your comfort zone repeatedly.
Well, I think for some people they would have had to stretch it. Some people would have to come out of it. But the arguments I'm making is, I don't think it's a good idea to always come out of your comfort zone. I think it's not good for you.
That's in not so many words, it's saying that you're never content.
It's cliched. Yeah. Everyone's talking about get out of your comfort zone like it's some kind of amazing thing to say, and people will clap at them. Oh yes, those comments that you see in people's post, this with lots of exclamation mark, or yes with lots of
I'll tell you an example that comes to mind is do you remember the first Andy Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua fight?
Yeah.
Now, at that point, Andy Ruiz was almost unheard of to most casuals and stuff.
True.
I'd by chance been up at like 4 o'clock in the morning once, just watching dead TV, and his fight came on. I remember because it was an outdoor daytime event. He was fighting in a stadium. There was hardly anybody there, and I thought, this guy, for a fat kid, this guy's pretty good.
There's a debate that he actually beat Joe Parker.
I think
there's a debate there.
I think he did. But the point being was he was very motivated, in his career coming up. He couldn't shift those extra pounds, but then again, look at Tyson Fury. Do you need to? So he was pushing himself and further improving every single time until he got comfortable, until he made those millions.
Yeah.
He went crazy spending it, bought a house, pool parties, everything. And his coaching team even came out and said, look, we just can't get him
Snickers,
into the gym.
wasn't it?
Yeah. We just can't get him into the gym. He didn't train for the rematch. He catfished the whole world. There was pictures of him having lost weight, looking, ripped and toned, and he wasn't. He'd actually put on more weight. He'd not had a training camp. He'd not been eating right, training right, anything. He'd found his sort of, where he wanted to be. And the problem with that is he can't stay there. The size of his house, his cars, his expenditure, whatever, because he got made to look silly in the rematch, if he'd have just, maintained those pool parties, not training, not doing whatever, he'd end up on his ass, in the ring and out. He'd be broke.
Yeah.
So he has to keep moving, and that's an example, I think, and it's pretty much what we opened with today.
To give you some motivation or support, Zahor's done a U-turn.
Okay.
Yeah, he's saying, haha, actually I don't, bro. I was just playing devil's advocate. It's what works for you. So I'm always pushing myself out of my comfort zone. But that's not for everyone. It can make some people unhappy being out of their comfort zone. You know what? Then he says it's that motivational speaker's bread and butter for thing. Yeah, it is, isn't it? You know what, Zahor? I think you're right. I think it is one of those things where people might be unhappy, but sometimes you've got to go through that phase of it doesn't matter if it makes you unhappy. You may not be joyful about doing certain things, but if it means you've got to do them, you've got to do them. I was thinking about this earlier, and I was thinking, if you've got kids and you are not on social media yourself because you don't like social media, fine. But if you're not even willing to investigate how the social media platforms work, then that's dangerous. I think you've got to come out. For example, I don't know whether you can call it, plateauing or stagnating in your ways. I think it is. If you're stagnant in your ways of not going onto social media, for example, for yourself, do it for, if you're responsible over kids and stuff, because you want to know what they're getting up to. I know there are ways around it. They can create all sorts of profiles and all, and block you or whatever from them. But when you've got responsibilities, that's when you've got to get out of your comfort zone. You get out of your comfort zone, not just for yourself, but the people who you are responsible over.
And not only
every
example,
shepherd is responsible for its flock, isn't it?
And another example that comes to mind is, and I'm not picking on anybody, and I'm not singling anybody out, but desi dads.
Yeah.
From the subcontinent, Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, this kind of area, the desi dads. They're comfortable eating 7 times a day, parathe for breakfast and, whatever, yeah? And they'll have a kebab at night. Whether he's a taxi driver, a takeaway worker, whatever, yeah? You get to a certain age, you get dad bod. But they're comfortable. They'll go, they'll earn their money, they'll come home, and they'll feast. And they're comfortable, and they just want to do this and do this. Now, most would say that they're happy to do this, yeah? Which they are. I mean, they're eating like a king. They're living like a king.
Yeah.
But they're out of weight.
Yeah.
They can't really participate in their child's sports day. They can't really play football with them. They're probably not going to be around as long or as active. Yeah. So as happy as they are and everything, I think they have to come out of their comfort zone for their own sake and for their children's and their grandchildren's.
Food is one thing. Take drugs and intoxicants in
Absolutely,
general.
Yeah.
People take intoxicants to be, in inverted commas, happy.
Yeah.
And sometimes this is the kind of addiction that leads them and gets them stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
So in that sense, they're happy doing that. They're in that comfort zone.
I honestly, and this might sound weird to some people, yeah, I think food is one of the most addictive drugs.
For me, food is fuel.
Yeah.
And I know I've said that before. For most people that I know, I should say, it's not. It's one of those things where, yeah, you're right. It's like a drug. It's
guilty pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's a joy.
Apart from sweet stuff, everyone knows that I've got a sweet tooth, and that's my weakness.
Yeah. But sugar has been called a drug how many times?
Yeah.
I should probably be the last one saying it, because, if you know, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Food is probably the best and one of the worst things for us, because nobody flags it up. If you're eating saturated fats or processed foods or sodium or whatever, it goes under the radar. And if I look, especially around our communities, and probably for most communities, what's more rife? Diabetes, cholesterol, blood pressure issues, obesity, or is it substance abuse, or is it alcoholism? It's the former, isn't it? But nobody wants to talk about that. Because when you're young, they say your metabolism is faster, better, stronger, whatever. So you can eat what you want. You can have 8 eggs and 6 toast and whatever for breakfast, and then be hungry an hour later and burn it off. You can have a gallon of milk, nothing of it. But if you still do that in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s,
and there are people watching this saying exactly the same thing, referring to heart attacks and strokes and diabetes. But it is what it is, isn't it? Because it's legal, halal, permissible, whatever. Yeah. In your words,
absolutely.
It's not talked about often enough because it's loud. Because here's the other reason: most of the people we talk. Let's just look at it from the people we know. Right? We belong to a certain community. We have lots of Asians. We have lots of Muslims in our community. If you look at most of the imams, they've got big pot bellies and, they're not very healthy or fit themselves.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if the leaders of the community, not just religious leaders, but leaders of the community, most of them are unhealthy and overweight.
Yeah.
So if those are the leaders, what are they showing us?
Where are we being led? What example?
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
So forget what I'm doing, just do what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think that is the danger with comfort zones in general.
But when there are times when you'd come out of your comfort zone for all sorts of different things, right? What do you get comfortable with? We were having this discussion on my post earlier on. One of the sisters said about relationships, being comfortable in relationships. And I, for a second, thought,
who's comfortable in a relationship? Who are these people?
For a second, I thought she hated stagnating. What she said was she hated stagnating in relationships. And I, for a second, thought she couldn't. She doesn't want to stay in a relationship. She wants to move on to another relationship. Because that's stagnating in one relationship. But what she meant was she hates stagnation within the relationship. She wants things to evolve and grow and so on and so forth. But what about all the other things that surrounding relationships and marriages, marrying 1, marrying 2, marrying 3 or 4, or just generally relationships themselves? What do you do in that situation in relationships? If you're stagnating and the other one doesn't want to stagnate, what then?
That again, I think you're highlighting one of the problems of being just a creature of habit.
Okay.
Because you know what? Honestly speaking, this does work for some couples. Monday night is, I don't know, Monopoly night, board games night. Tuesday night is takeaway night. Wednesday is whatever. Friday night is, curry night. Saturdays, whatever, yeah? Now, for some people, that works. But I would say for half of the people that it's working for, it's not working for half of half of the people within. So it's working for one
of the
one and
parties.
not the other.
Yeah.
But so what do you do?
It's usually the woman it's working for, isn't it?
I don't know. It's usually I would say it's usually the woman
because they get their way. Is that what you're saying?
Do they? Bro, we need to have a talk, man. We need to have a chat off air, I think. But yeah, I think anything that's stagnant or stagnates it's not good.
What can you call a routine? It's stagnation. If you've got a routine of something and it works for both, then, or maybe more than 2.
You know what?
Is it stagnation?
We're not here for like relationship advice or marital advice as such per se.
Okay.
But do you know what? It might be worth just checking with your partner. How much they're loving the routine. How much they love that thing that you do on Tuesday nights, how much they love the Sunday morning, whatever it is. Just check with them and just ask them for an honest answer.
Are you in any kind of routines?
No.
Okay.
No.
So there's nothing for you to check then?
No.
Okay.
I'm all checked out. I am probably one of the most, I don't know, sort of spontaneous, off the cuff, but at the same time, unorganized person.
Would you say your life's an organized mess?
I can't even put organized. It's that bad. It's not even organized.
I don't want this to turn into a counselling session either, to be
No,
honest with
no,
you.
I'd rather not do that.
But coming back to the original point, stagnating. At times, I think, you know what, it's always going to be up to the individual whether they stagnate in anything. But I think if anything, it becomes obligatory on us not to stagnate in some circumstances.
Yeah.
For example, health is one of the things we talked about. It's a responsibility. Whenever, in fact, we can kind of cover this whole thing with that word, responsibility. Whenever we have any kind of responsibilities, we cannot afford to stagnate. And we shouldn't stagnate, because stagnating for ourselves is one thing, but when we stagnate and it affects other people, that's another thing altogether.
Yeah. And the chances are, if you're part of any family, household, you know, it is going to affect other people. What you do almost in one way or another does affect somebody else. Almost always. Unless you're an absolute lone wolf, you know, solo machine that's completely cut off and void from society in every way. What you do and also what you don't do will affect other people.
So actions and omissions, what you do and what you don't do, what you fail to do,
Yeah.
it will affect other people.
100%.
Yeah. So when is it okay to stagnate?
I think I want to say when you're at the top, but even then, like, you know,
What is the top exactly? Has anyone ever gotten to the top
no.
for themselves?
I think a lot of people think they have.
Yeah.
And I go back to Andy Ruiz. That guy got, you know, all his dreams came true.
Still didn't have two of those belts though. He didn't have the Ring Magazine belt or the W.
But he even came out and said,
I think.
I've made all my dreams come true. And you know, when he said that, I thought, hang on a second, man. If you've made all of your dreams come true, you've just lost all your motivation.
Yeah, was it which boxer was it who said when you sleep in silk pajamas, it's hard to get up at 5 in the
4
morning?
in the morning, yeah.
it
Was he's passed away now. He's a legend as well. I can't remember. For the life of me,
I can't remember either. But the point being, when you've got things in your life which you feel are what
Marvin Hagler.
Marvin Hagler.
Sorry,
I thought
you
it
need
was.
to
I
interrupt you.
thought it
Marvin
was
Hagler,
Marvin
yeah.
Hagler, but I wasn't sure it was. When you've got things in your life which you think, okay, this is what I worked hard for, and I've got it now. Question is it always going to remain that way?
No.
Let's look at this current financial situation at the moment. Now, in the UK, and probably a lot of other places around the world, we're going through a bit of a financial turmoil, right?
Understatement of the year.
Yeah, exactly. And have you, I mean, I don't know about you guys who are watching this. I don't know. Tell us what your gas and electric bills are, what your direct debits are. Mine, I just got an email today.
The mood has just gone somber all of a sudden.
Yeah, no, but there's a point to be made, isn't
Absolutely,
it? Right?
yeah.
So mine has just gone to £300 a month.
From
249, from 189,
Yeah.
from
exactly,
120.
from not all that long ago.
From not all that long ago, yeah. So within the space of, I'd say, a year and a half, it's tripled.
Yes.
Almost, yeah. And I was thinking to myself, you know, alhamdulillah, we're blessed to be in a position where we're not going to be, you know, living from hand to mouth. We're not going to have to decide between whether we pay the bills or pay for the food.
Yes.
Yeah. But there'll be so many people out there, unfortunately, and I was reading a statistic about this not too long ago, that most of the people, I think it was over 70 or 80, over 80% of the UK population live from hand to mouth. Basically, what they get is it goes away. It gets consumed. Yeah, they don't have surplus cash, and they don't have savings of any kind, which prevents them or help them in situations like this. So I thought to myself, now my gas and electric bills have tripled, right? Most of the country's gas and electric bills will have tripled as well. Question is, how many people would be able to afford it comfortably if they stayed in their comfort zones? And if they're stagnated. Now, this is where I think when you've got that responsibility, you can't afford to stagnate, especially when you're responsible for other people.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in a position where you're okay, like you said, Andy Ruiz got those belts, says I got everything I've ever dreamed of, stagnates. You know, it doesn't, no motivation.
Yeah.
But you've got to count for the days, the darker days, or the days which are going to become challenging, or the times which you didn't predict, or you know, what's that term when they refer to the hard times, you know, befall on people when the least expect it. You know, those unexpected occasions when you don't know what's around the corner, financially or otherwise, right? So if let's just say you're in a job and you've got a certain level of income coming in, you've got outgoings which are all covered from that job, but you don't have any extra, and you're just living like that on a month-to-month basis. I think it's at those times that I would start thinking, hang on, is this it? You know what I mean? We need to change this. I mean, call me, you know, a risk management consultant or something. But you know what?
Why would we do that?
I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. But this is when you start thinking about contingency planning. Most of us don't even think about contingency plans.
No, we don't. And I think coming back to the point is, financially speaking, now, you know, career-wise, job-wise, whatever it is, if you're, you know, maybe if you were at the point a year or two ago where you were having 100, 150 quid, 200 quid left at the end of the month, and you'd put it away for like an annual break or a holiday or whatever, and your bills have doubled and tripled and everything else has, you know, gone up, but you're still kind of earning the same, working the same hours, just doing the same job. It's now beyond the point where you can even, I don't know, turn the heating down and be all right in the same place. It's beyond where you can start shopping at Aldi and Lidl instead of Waitrose and be all right. It's beyond the point where, you know, you can just, I don't know, shower at the gym instead of showering at home and be all right. Something has to give. You have to either go for that promotion, you have to either work extra hours, have a second income. You have to do all that just to be where you were maybe 2 years ago, lifestyle-wise. Just to be where you were. You know, if you'd have done that then, yeah, you'd have a safety net, you'd have a couple more years to play with. But because you were in your comfort zone then, you can't be now. Do you get it? So what you have to do now is that little bit more drastic, just to be where you were going years back. And this is why I'm a little bit not against, but you know, I think some people get content too easy. And I can give my example.
I think that was it. See, the blog that I wrote was about contentment.
Okay.
Now you've hit the nail on the head. You've reminded me.
As I did.
See, my argument was not just about comfort zones. Okay, yeah, we can have a chit chat about comfort zones. My argument was contentment doesn't mean you're not motivated.
Yeah.
Contentment just means that you are okay with the good and the bad. Contentment doesn't mean you can't be sad. Contentment doesn't mean you can't be unhappy. And contentment doesn't mean you're not motivated. Contentment simply means that, for me personally, I'm saying, the way I would interpret contentment is I am content with everything I have, through the caveat being my hard work, my sacrifices, and what I've done to get what I want or what I have. Ultimately, it's his giving. But I'm content with however he decides to keep me, despite what I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
I think your definition and understanding of contentment is probably the best I've seen.
Oh. Wow.
I won't often admit to that. But honestly, most people, and maybe myself included, misunderstand what it means to be content and how to be content. Because for us, it means being, I don't know, sitting back, stagnating, being lazy, just being, you know. And I'm guilty of this many times in my life. Many times in my life, I've thought, I earn this much, I spend this much comfortably, splash this bit, this, that, and around, and I'm okay. I don't need to do anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that's the mistake that we make, because what I could do in my 20s, I can't now do in my 30s, and I damn well for sure won't be able to do it in my 40s.
Come on, man. Don't be like that.
Oh, because you're already in your 40s.
Don't go down that road.
I didn't mean to.
Listen, I could probably do things in my 40s that you still can't do in your 30s.
That's true.
But
That's only because of medicinal advances and
whatever. I think in terms of contentment, most people think that contentment means that you just sit on your laurels and then you just soak up the rest of your life, however it is brought to you. For me, it doesn't mean that. I think most people, if they were to really consider what contentment means, they would be so much happier in life and less stressed about stuff. One of the things that somebody once asked me is, and this is going back in my 30s, I'm talking about way over a decade ago.
Things were black and white, huh?
Exactly. So back in my 30s, I was asked. In fact, I would say it was even my late 20s. I left a job. When I say a job, I was working as a contractor. A very, very well paid job. And alhamdulillah, all those jobs before then were very, very well paid. All the jobs that I'd had, apart from one, which I only worked in for a few months, were as me working self-employed. So no basic salary. And I earned really, really high commissions. Alhamdulillah. So when I left, it was a surprise. It came as a shock because I was the highest performer in the company.
Yeah.
And I was hitting the higher targets, the higher rate of commissions, and I was getting 0 cancellations at the end as well. And, they were saying he knew he wanted to go, yet he still got 0 cancellations and still hit the higher rate of commissions. And then one of my mates, who was actually a former manager of mine, he asked me, Majid, how you doing? I said, I'm content. And he paused for a second. He paused for a few minutes, actually, for a few seconds, but it felt like minutes. And he thought about what I'd just said. And he was like, wow, what does that even mean anymore? He was thinking out loud. And when we were having these discussions about contentment and what it means, and what's the purpose of life, and passions in life and values and all that kind of system, we ended up having a discussion about. And that's when it really hit me about where I was in life. And since then, I've been there. I'm in that, and you've seen me progress in the last, I don't know, how many years, 10 years or so, 5-6 years. You've known me.
Yeah.
Other friends of mine have seen me progress since my late 20s in business and work and stuff like that. I've had some tough times as well. Some really tough times in between, but I've always been content. And I think for our mental health, that's done wonders. Because when you're content with whatever's going on, that's not in your control.
Yeah.
It's not from you. It's from somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
You have no control over it.
Yeah.
So why stress over stuff that's not in your control? But the things that are in your control, they're the things you can work on. And those are the things that we should be working harder at. And I get what Zuhur is saying, and I agree. I for the sake of conversation, I wouldn't just go around saying, stay in your comfort zones, full stop.
See, to the layman, that's probably not good advice. If you add in all the context and you know exactly what you're saying, and that the person can comprehend the whole, structure of the argument, then But otherwise, it's probably not a thing that we encourage in a soundbite.
No, not in a soundbite, but knowing you being controversial and all that, you might just pick that out in a soundbite and
of course,
cut it out and paste it all over social media. Stay in your comfort zone. That's it. I said it. Stay in your comfort zone. You're going to clip this bit out as well. So yeah, I'd say, what, contentment, it's one of those things where it's the hardest things, one of the hardest things to attain in life, contentment. I think there are a lot of people out there who make out that they're content or may say that they're content, but I don't think they really are. And unfortunately, you can sometimes see that in the way they...
It's not even that much. It's They might be. But if they want to stay there, they have to get out of there. You know, let me give you an example, yeah? I have a 16...
I get it.
Yeah? I have a 16-year-old son. And he wakes up early afternoon, mid-afternoon. He is loving his life. He understood the academic route is not for him. Yeah, he gave it a go, obviously, whatever. It just wasn't to happen. Now he's at the point where he kind of loves his life. He works a little bit in the family business. You know, it pays his bills and his board or whatever, imagine, yeah? So he's thinking, I'm eating, I have my own room, I have heat, electric, warmth, whatever. I wake up like a chaudhry. You know, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'll go chill with the mates, go to the library, whatever, and then I'll go work in the evenings a little bit. And that, everything is paid for, done. Okay, at 16, maybe. It's that simple. You're living under your dad's roof. Okay. Is that going to wash when you're 25? In your own home? With your own wife and your own kids? It's not. And this is what I explained to him. I said, look, son, today you're comfortable. You have everything that you want. Okay, you're not worried about cars. You don't want a holiday. You don't want a PS5. Happy with the PS4. Today that might wash. But this is saal, 2 saal, 5 saal. This is... It's not forever. If you stay in that same routine, waking up like a chaudhry in the afternoon, eventually you're not even going to be where you are now.
So what advice did you give him?
Get the out of bed. He has to step out of his comfort zone. He has to do something.
Get the out of your bed.
Exactly.
Say it again.
My son's watching this. But
say it to him.
But
which camera is he on? Say that camera. Tell him. Go on.
Yeah, I think it's on you.
I'll do it. Go on. Tell him. If you're watching, listen. If you're watching, get the out of the bed. There you go.
Exactly. And it's just that is if you want to even, let's say you even want to maintain this. Yeah. Let's say you turn 17 tomorrow, you're going to want to drive a car.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to happen. You're going to want, I don't know, certain brand of clothes. You're going to want to go out with your mates for a steak, or you're going to want to chip in for what do kids do these days, like hire a Hummer limousine, or they do these things, don't they?
Do they?
They genuinely do.
Wow.
We couldn't even flip and chip in for $1 and chips. Do you know what I mean?
I remember the times, right? You're gonna laugh at this, right? The reviews. If you're some of my childhood mates, you'll know this. You might even be watching. One of my best mates, his dad got him a Nissan Micro when he passed his driving test.
Nice,
right? One of those old school box-shaped Nissan Micros, really cool car. On his first day of getting the car, we were still at school. I'd already passed my test and I'd got a car and he got his car, and we said, come on man, take us for a drive. So we walked from the high school, halfway. He went and collected the car, brought it to the petrol station, and between us, we put in £1 worth of petrol in it. Between us, because we had to save some money.
But then again,
some
£1
and
then would
drinks.
get you more than half a litre. But it does now,
We, you know what? Those are the days you put £1 of petrol in a Nissan Micra, and
go to Bradford and back. Yeah,
I won't go that far, literally, but yeah, So I get what you're saying. You can put pennies together for a $1
Absolutely,
in chips.
Yeah.
And nowadays, kids are getting into like Hummer limousines and stuff.
Kids go out for dessert, they go out for steaks.
All these dessert shops, man, you've got to sort them out.
Yeah, seriously, what's with that?
What's going on?
Come on. But you have to constantly, unless you're at a certain stage in life where, look, I think if you're just comfortable, you need to not remain. You need to not sit down there.
Yeah.
If you're spending 10% of your income, then you've got. It's like what's the tortoise, and who did the tortoise race?
Yeah, the hare and the tortoise.
The hare and the tortoise. Yeah. The tortoise knows it's well within its own. Is it the hare or the one? I don't know. I'm just messing up all the examples.
Yeah, the hare went ahead faster.
Got comfortable,
sat down, fell asleep, had a nap. By that time, the tortoise bypassed him. And
and this is it. This is it. You have to kind of keep moving, and if you're, let's say you sit on your laurels when you're, I don't know, living off 10% of your income, yeah, you're okay. Chill for a bit, take a break, take a breather, enjoy it. When you get to 20, 30, okay, 40, 50, 60, you know, at that point you start.
What do you make of these new laws that they've well, the mini budget and the new stringent rules that they've put into place for people who are on benefits? So if you're on benefits and you're not in a job and you're just claiming benefits, and they'll stop your benefits if you've not put enough effort into, you know, like they're actually making it really stringent.
It's something they tried to do a very long time ago.
Apparently, I don't know.
I'll tell you why. There was, and it's an unfortunate example to use, but do you remember the guy from Derby that had about 12 kids, and he wanted to get a bigger council house, so he set his house on fire, but a few of the kids
died.
passed away.
Yeah.
Mick something, Philpott, whatever his name was.
I think so, yeah.
Now, prior to that incident, he'd actually featured in a TV documentary where, was it Margaret Beckett or somebody? It was somebody high up in politics said, you're going to go to work. You're going to go get a job just to be able to get the amount of benefits that you're getting now. And he was on like £500-600 a week, sat at home. You know, all this child benefit, this benefit, that benefit. And there was no job that was going to pay this lazy kid £500-600 a week. But anyway, they tried, you know, I don't know if it was a pilot scheme at the time, but they said, look, you've got to work at least this many hours. Even if that job is equivalent is only £200, we're going to give you your minimum cap of benefit. I think it flopped. I think that was maybe 15-20 years ago now. But if they do that, I agree with it.
I agree as well. As long as it's done sensibly, because they'll be genuinely, because a lot of people take the, where's it gone? When it comes to applying for benefits, isn't it?
And you know, probably everybody out there would say the same thing about their own people, about their own culture, about their own ethnicity. I think we're one of the worst offenders when it comes to that. I think so
too. Mate, there was a time I was working for the local council, right? And local authority, and people came in for benefits claims and stuff. There was one sister who was making a claim and getting benefits for being separate from her husband.
This is common.
When she wasn't even separate.
She wasn't. Yeah, this is unfortunately a very common thing.
Is it common? Yeah. Even to this day, it shocks me thinking about it.
Yeah.
That's haram, man.
The whole thing is haram, man. Honestly, look, if you compare the social security system to the Baytul Mal or Zakat or something, you know, which it is. If you're, you know, unable to work, if you're a widow, if you're elderly, if you're, you know, in such a position where you can't go out and earn your daily bread, then okay, take from that pot. What you need to eat until you can get back on your feet. You have people, self-employed or otherwise, working all hours of the day, registering not living with their wife and kids at another house, so that your wife gets the benefits, you get working tax credit because you're declaring the minimum, and you're building property and plazas and everything back home.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that's the sole reason of why we are where we are today, but you pair that with, you know, MP expenses and all the scams going on and furloughs and bounce back loans and everything, nobody talks about the benefit scammers and all of these things.
Kamran says nobody wants change. As humans, as human nature is to not come out of the comfort zone. They rather prefer what works for their own comfort. Those that pivot and adopt change usually are the ones who are most successful. Yeah, and you're right.
And that goes for whatever your definition of success is, whether it's monetary, whether it's otherwise. It's achieving, isn't it? If you set out, if you push yourself, if you work for it, if you strive for it, if you discipline yourself, you'll be okay in one way or another.
Yeah, I guess you would, but I think, you know what, I think people really take the mick when it comes to benefits, and it's like the claim culture, isn't it? When people put claims in for insurance claims, and they say it's easy wins for them, and get somebody to nick your car and pretend it got stolen just because you don't want to sell it for a lower price and want to get more money from insurance. And you hear these stories about how or what people are doing, and you think, wow, are they actually doing it, or is it just like
Of course, man.
Yeah. I must be really naive, honestly.
Yeah, I think you are, man.
Honestly, it shocks me when I hear stuff like that.
Yeah.
And apparently these things are more common than we'd like to believe, or at least I'd like to believe.
Absolutely. This is the problem.
But do these people not actually think about the repercussions of what they're doing? I mean, like, how can they sleep easy at night?
Clearly not. I have an opinion on this.
You have an opinion on a lot of things.
On like, on the moral compass. I believe that anything that impacts another human being in any way, shape, or form, it might seem minute to you, but if it impacts another human being, you should be far more wary of it, regardless of the crime, the punishment.
Isn't it? It's the rights of human beings over others, and this is not just a theological kind of point for us as Muslims, but it's the law of tort, T-O-R-T, law of tort, wronging other people, and that's how negligence claims come. But
I think this is what's been lost.
It has. I think a lot of people have become really selfish. They just think about themselves. They don't think about the repercussions on other people, or what their actions, words, or anything affect other people and the community. If you think about these insurance claims or any kind of insurance claims, then they don't realize that what they're doing actually affects other people in that area as well, where they're living, or people of a certain. These things count towards statistics, and those statistics determine where insurance should lie for people who do. I mean, I'm talking car insurance specifically here, because it's a legal requirement to have car insurance. So when you've got a legal requirement for mandatory insurance of some kind, then obviously you're going to think about you've got to think about how your actions are affecting other people. It's really it's crazy. It makes my blood boil sometimes. Cameron says these are the same types of people who will be having issues in their own homes. No peace or barakah at all, whether this spiritually, marriage, or children. You know what? He's right, though. He's right. So, you know what goes round comes round, and karma, call it whatever you want. But I've actually seen that. I've actually seen, and the weird thing is, a lot of these people are like the high flyers. Like you envisage them, or you see them in like you put them on a pedestal. These people who are like like role models or examples you have in communities, like the Chaudhrys of the world. You know what I mean? I didn't want to say it, but it's true, isn't it?
I don't even know the letters, otherwise I was going to drop them in there. But you've got your MBEs and OVEs and BMs and I don't know. You know what? That's a discussion to be had. To be honest, that's a podcast I think we're gonna end up discussing at some point. To what extent do you compromise on your values for the sake of success or status? To what extent? And I've seen a lot of people fall from great heights. A lot of people. You know who I worry for more? The ones that don't fall. The ones that cheat the system, that cheat other people, that fraud and scam and lie and deceive, but don't have any comeback. Like, karma doesn't hit them. They're getting away with it. Those are the people that I worry for.
Why do you worry for them?
The reason I worry for them is because when it hits, it's going to hit hard. And if it doesn't hit, that's a whole, if you go to your grave having got away scot-free with everything that you've done, and you've done a whole lot of crap, and you've done a whole lot of harming, that's what I worry for.
Yep.
That's what I worry for. Because you know what goes around comes around. I kind of sit easy with that a little bit. Look, let's give an example. Let's say you're in a car park and you're at the supermarket and one of your kids opens the door, but it's a bit windy and it hits the car next to you. We've probably all been there, yeah? But you're like, oh, leave it, let's just go. And you drive off and you've chipped the other guy's car, bichara, yeah?
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, something happens to you. Your alternator goes, or, you know, you get a smashed window, or the boiler breaks down. And you're like, this is that coming back, innit?
Yeah. You know what? Sorry to cut you short. I can recall exactly a conversation I had with somebody who told me that something like this happened to them. So they were sat at work. They pulled off a little scam, right? Ordering something for 300 quid. It was 300 quid in value, whatever they ordered. And it was the kind of thing that, you know, you can he was explaining that you order something, you send it at some address, and or you get it, or you say it's not come or whatever, and then you don't have to pay for an item which hasn't arrived, but you've actually got the item.
You've got the item,
right?
yeah.
I don't know how it works.
That was actually really common back in the day, especially with mobile phones.
And Amazon and stuff. I think you mentioned Amazon.
I don't know about Amazon, but yeah.
Anyhow, so he did this the very same day he was driving home, and he knocked into a car from behind. It was his fault.
His fault, yeah.
So they parked up, they were discussing, and he says, listen, you know, let's not go through the insurance. I'm still a young driver. It's going to bump up my insurance a lot. Let's just settle it privately. And guess how much the guy asked for?
£300.
£300. That stuck with me. Stuck with me. And I thought to myself, well, if that happened then, you know, that should surely prevent you from doing anything like that again, in the future.
Yeah. But and that may well do. But imagine he'd gotten away with it.
Yeah.
Imagine he'd gotten away with it and he'd done it again next time for £400. Again, same thing. Then he'd got braver and done it for £1,000. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my worry. I worry for those people.
I do. And to be honest, there are loads of people out there who do say things or do things which they do get away with. And sooner or later, there is recompense. Sooner or later, there is accountability, whether it's in this life or the next. Sooner or later, there will be accountability. And I suppose in one sense, from our perspective, the way we look at it, being Muslims, we would say, look, you know, God's giving you an opportunity to repent all the way till your final breath and make things right. But if you're still not doing that right until your final days, then shame on you, and then you deserve it, don't you?
Yeah.
If you at whatever age, if you're like, if you reach old age, and you've messed people about in your life, and you've kind of fraudulently made claims and defrauded the system and made so much out of it, if by the end of your life you've not sincerely repented, then you bloody deserve whatever's coming to you in the next life.
Look, how many times have we seen people, you know, and we've probably spoke to people who said, bro, don't do that. Oh, go on, you know, I'll do Hajj when I'm older.
Yeah.
You know, I'll hit the reset button.
Yeah. When I'm older, but damn आज करांगे अल्लाह के घर जाएंगे बख्शिश मांगेंगे सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा.
See, that's another type of being comfortable.
It is. Look, it is comfortable in your sin.
Yeah.
Comfortable wronging people.
This is
comfortable with hurting people. Comfortable with.
I think that's the hardest point for somebody in any kind of crime. Yeah.
Yeah.
To come clean and start again. And I gave this example. Yeah. I can't remember. I was speaking to somebody, and they said, "Look, why don't you just buy a lottery ticket?" And I said, I remember I said, I don't buy a lottery ticket, not even for the reason that you think I don't buy one. I don't buy a lottery ticket because I think I might win. And then I'm screwed.
Wow.
Imagine you don't gamble or you don't whatever, yeah? But you get a £1 scratch card or a lottery or whatever it is these days, Euro Millions.
Yeah.
And you win.
Yeah.
And it's like 5 million, 10 million, 25 million. Yeah? And you're like, shit, I only gambled £1, but I've got 25 million. What do? How do you go back
from there
to righting that wrong of that one little mistake? You can't. I don't think there's a man alive
it'd be difficult
who can. You know what? I've seen people do it. Oh yeah, but I donated to the masjid. Yeah, but I paid for some umrah for some old people or poor people. I got this ghareeb's daughter married. but what about the rest?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
put
they think
yourself
that
out.
they've cleansed their income by doing
Absolutely
these good
not.
deeds. And to be frankly honest, I've read that when you have haram income and you you spend it on even good causes, don't expect reward from it,
Nothing, yeah.
because it's not going to come your way.
It's not going to come your way.
But you're right. Cameron also says, Bro Ali, those people who will have an interesting janazah reception, what's been your purpose or accomplishments during your test in this dunya when you've got people talking bad about you on your janazah, or not many people showing remorse, or not many turning out to your janazah because they didn't like your character, ethics, or behavior? The worst thing is when people are at someone's janazah and talking bad about them. I out of respect, I've not come across that situation. I've come across the situation afterwards, like people have spoken, yeah, may Allah forgive him, and that's it, right? Let's not say. But I think you've got to be a different kind of a low character to be talking bad about someone on their funeral.
Yeah. Even once they're gone.
Even once they're gone, you shouldn't do. Yeah. But you're right. I think there are some people who have these narcissistic personality traits who will do whatever they can or want for their own benefit, use people, abuse people emotionally, intellectually, you know, whatever. But neither will they show remorse, but they won't even acknowge it to
I think that's the
right
worst
their
part,
wrongs.
isn't it?
Yeah, because it's some kind of a psychopathic behavior. You know, they're psychopaths, some of them are. And
how many go undetected?
Mia says, my friend married and divorced someone who just goes around marrying and abusing innocent women one after another, just getting away. Wow. You know, that's people like that need to be called out.
I think so.
People, look, if people are going around just marrying and divorcing, they're treating the marriage, the sanctity of marriage, as a joke. There is no sanctity of marriage for them. You need to call them out, Mia. Get your friend to call them out. Don't have any. Don't hold you back. Don't hold
Even
yourself
if
back.
it's not for exposing them because of what they did, which you should do anyway, you should at least think of the potential victims.
Yeah, anybody else who you might
so
be
that
saving.
it doesn't happen to anybody else.
Yeah, public name and shame.
And I think that's probably more important than, you know, getting your truth out there because you want this person to suffer or get revenge or whatever. Yeah, there's going to be that element. You want them to be accountable. But if you stay quiet, are you accomplice?
Well, this is it, isn't it? Is that another comfort zone or stagnation?
Of course it is.
Is that another way of staying comfortable or in a comfort zone or stagnating in your position, saying, "Mate, it's got nothing to do with me"?
Yeah.
Isn't what's that quote somebody once said? When you're silence in the face of oppression, when you're silent in the face of an oppression, then you are siding with the oppressor.
Yeah.
It's a similar concept, isn't it? I think a lot of people are, though, aren't they? They're afraid to speak up. They're afraid
We
to
have
call
that
out.
it's rife within our community, and in probably every community.
Yeah,
Everybody
not
knows.
just our every community.
Everybody knows who the drug dealer is. Everybody knows who's the VAT fraud scammer, who's this, who's that, you know, who's whatever. Everybody knows. Nobody says anything. You know,
But this is wrong, though, isn't it?
it is.
Mia says our culture is not very forgiving towards brave women, and this is where this is where you need. It may not be, but it's become a culture now because it was accepted that way. You need to break that culture. You need to speak up.
Yeah.
You need to be brave.
It's got to start somewhere, isn't it?
It's got to start somewhere, and you know, there's so many religious references towards making a positive change, and you being the first person to do that, you carry the hasanat and the good deeds of anybody else who does it, and you know, you just never know who you might be helping out there in that way. And if you need our supporters on Beardo's Media, we're here, me and Ali. We'll put ourselves at risk for you. Don't worry. Just don't give our address. But yeah, we're here. We're here to help in any way that we can. I would just go for it. But yeah, you're right, Ali. You know what? These things happen quite regularly, and these things happen not just in this situation, which Mia is mentioning, in terms of women being abused by men and then they're having to stay silent. There are children being abused, child abuse cases. There are safeguarding issues. There are mental health issues with people, and people being abused mentally, physically, sexually, all sorts of ways. And then staying quiet is the last thing you should be doing. If you can't speak up yourself, find a way. Someone can be a voice for you.
You're not helping anybody, are you? Not you, not the victims, not the potential victims, not the
nobody.
person. You know what I mean?
In fact, you could be exacerbating the situation and supporting the situation. Cameron's asking a question. He says, "What's your thoughts on people backbiting, then eating from the same plate, or being very nice to one another when face to face? How do you define this type of character?"
Family.
Family.
That's what family was for, isn't it? It's absolutely. Do you know what? We've all been there, and I think whether we want to admit it or not, and I don't know if Cameron agrees, we've probably been on both sides of that coin.
I think so, knowingly or unknowingly, mild versions, stronger versions, intentionally, unintentionally. I think we've all been on that side. I think, but as we mature, as we grow older, we'd like to believe that there's less of it from us. You know what I say? I mean, I've come across this situation where people have said things about me, even, right?
Surprising, man.
My you know what my response is? More power to them.
Yeah.
More power to them. Honestly, carry on. If anything, I'm in benefit of this. They may think that by making something up or lying or assuming something, they can they can make something up, and people might believe them. But the truth always comes out. The truth always comes out, and the good thing is, the person who is a victim of this kind of gossiping and backbiting is always the one who is going to be benefiting in so many ways.
It's true.
If you know,
It's true.
and I'm sure you know, Cameron.
Speaking of comfort zones and stagnating and always doing what you always did, and all of these things, do you think there's any age in which it's just too early to do that, to sit back? Or would you say that doesn't apply to everyone? See,
I don't think there is. To be honest with you, I think, for example, there are certain things in life which I would never stagnate on, me personally, and I don't think anybody should, because it's dangerous to. One of those things, which is the most important things in our lives, is the preparation for our afterlife, right? So as a Muslim, I believe we're going to die, we're going to be resurrected, then we're going to be judged. It's going to be determined whether we, go to heaven or hell, right? But to find which path to follow, I think you should never sit on your laurels, especially when we have this conversation between finding the truth towards our beliefs. Where do our beliefs stem from? What is the origin? Where does it come? What is meant to be a Muslim? What is the meaning of that? And forget, there was a blog I did about, do you really know what you think you know until you've considered
what you didn't know, and the opposite, yeah.
The opposite. And a lot of people thought about, well, do you want me to consider atheism? I say, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, consider their arguments. But it's not just about other religions. There's intra-religious debate and discussion. I'm not saying you go around debating people. I'm not saying you go around discussing with people who are, maybe none the wiser, or maybe we're not knowledgeable enough. But what I'm saying is, for you to really have conviction in your faith and belief, you need more than just parrot fashion learning.
Yeah.
You need conviction.
Well, if you don't understand the
100%.
counter argument, or if you don't understand where the other person's coming from, or you don't, you're not open to how they got there or where they are, then really, which of you is any better?
Look, my views have changed throughout the years.
As they should.
And I would like to believe they've evolved. I've understood. I mean, I would argue that I've become a Muslim in my later life through, lots of different faculties and reasoning and, rationale, and rather than just being born into a Muslim family.
Yeah.
But that was a decision that I made then, and I understand the reasons behind it. I understand what my worship requires and all sorts.
Yeah.
And similar with anything else in life, when we're in anything in any kind of facet of life, whether it's a profession or business, if you don't understand what you're doing or why you're doing it, or why are you doing it?
Yeah.
This is why whenever I'm asked, one of the popular keynote speeches that I get asked to deliver is success on your own terms. And obviously success is a very subjective thing. But how do you get that, whatever success means to you, on your own terms?
On your own terms. And this is why, obviously knowing you, I know you do this anyway, but look, you've gone out of your way, you've done your research, you've discovered things, you've discovered yourself. Yeah. When your kids get to a certain age, you expect them to ask the difficult questions.
Yeah.
All their whys, all their wheres, all their hows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, they're going to be where you were 20, 30 years ago. Yeah.
Exactly.
And not everybody is a Majid Waris. Just saying. But not everybody not everybody is willing to step out of that comfort zone and ask the questions that need to be asked. That doesn't end well.
You're right.
Whether it's faith, whether it's anything else, blind following seldom ends well.
100%. And that's a very dangerous thing as well, blind following is. Because, again, you can spin it how you want. There's a religious concept of blind following being haram and whatnot. Yeah. To a certain degree, we have to, I guess, as we're learning. But I think when you have been gifted intellect, the gift of intellect, reason, logic, whatever, you can read and write and think for yourself.
Yeah.
Then it becomes incumbent on you to then go out and do your own research and independent research. A lot of people will try and put you off to say, oh no, you have to have certain kind of scholarships, or you have to have certain kind of academic background to even put everything into comprehension or comprehend things. Ignore them. Just go out. And if you're sincerely looking for the truth, you'll come back to what I found as Islam. But at the same time, you've got to step out of that fear that, oh no, if I'm scared, if you're scared of looking outside or from outside in, then maybe you weren't strong enough in your faith in the first place.
Wow. If you look at it like that, it's perspective, isn't it? It's true. I agree with you.
Yeah. I think that's kind of it's actually 8:15.
Wow. Okay.
This is probably the longest time we've been on the podcast without even realize what time it is. Mia says, I think if you do anything without 100% conviction and belief, it will show in your work and in your personality. I agree, 100%, Mia. 100%. Another Facebook user saying, you're right, without understanding we have the objective truth through Allah, we cannot answer others' inquiries. Our kids will be asked why you believe what you believe, be it at school, work, or with friends. It is no longer following we have to prepare. Sorry, I'm reading from a screen which is quite far and quite small. It is no longer following we have to prepare the future of the Ummah against the atheists and the LGBT rights and the world who are trying to teach the kids something else. Cameron says, there are people from where haram has become a norm. What is the turning point for them? I've witnessed their loved ones suffer because of their doings. I wouldn't say their loved ones suffer because of their doings. That's possibly an interpretation. High time for the truth to be brave. Yes, Mia, definitely high time. There we go. Time to be brave, Cameron. It's possible. Could be a test, but it's never definitive. One of the things from an Islamic concept, we don't carry the sin, which is why we differ from some of the Orthodox Christian beliefs where they say the original sin by Adam and Eve was carried to humankind, and so we're responsible. We don't have that same belief, so we don't believe that children carry the sin of their parents. But there can be tests and tribulations and trials which we are all subjected to for different reasons. And you could be right, it could be, but you're 100% right in saying that there are people who don't have that turning point, and haram has become the norm. And for them, we can only pray. And may Allah guide them, may Allah guide us, may Allah guide us all. On that note, I think we've come to a close, and I think we should call an end to this particular podcast. It's been an interesting conversation, and thank you for your contributions, everybody. We very much appreciate it. I think it's crazy because we come across so many different experiences in life, and sometimes we share experiences quite similar. We think some of the same things, but rarely do we get to discuss them openly. And sometimes that's all that people need. People just need that little bit of a confirmation that, you know what, I'm not in this on my own. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. Next week we'll be back, inshallah, same time, same place. Do let us know if you have any particular topics that you want us to discuss or you want to be featured in. So inshallah, 7 p.m. next Tuesday. In the meantime, have a great evening, and see you then.